fish.
We will eventually run out of
Sturgis.
Good evening, and thank you. I would like to call the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 to order. And note that we will be entering into executive session and returning no sooner than 6 p.m. May I have a motion, Pete?
Mr. Chair, I move to enter into an executive session for the following purpose. Item A, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining for all town unions and non-union personnel and/or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. And the chair has determined that open session would have a detrimental effect on the town's bargaining position.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Pete?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Nita? Aye. And I'm an aye. 5-0, please. Thank you very much. Good evening, and I'd like to call the Select Board meeting for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025 back to order. And note that we were in executive session and no action was taken. So if you would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I will open with staff comments and announcements, and I will begin by saying welcome to our new Select Board members, Anita Doucette, Mark Kelleher. Thank you both for putting in the time and the effort to run a great campaign, both of you, and we're super happy to have you here with us. Anybody want to say anything on the other end?
Just welcome aboard. Echo your comments. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Don.
Let's hope you're a man of many words the rest of the meeting. All right. I've also got a couple other things that I just want to bring up. First and foremost, by an email today, very unfortunate email today. A second grade teacher of ours, Pat Smith, has passed away. And I would like our board to offer our sincere condolences. And prayers be with the entire family, and I'd like to start with a moment of silence for Pat Smith. Thank you. Next for me is, last year we had Ella Lombard in this room for her 103rd birthday. Ella Lombard is still with us. Last week last week on Wednesday, she had her 104th birthday. So Ella, happy birthday, wherever you're at tonight. I hope you had one heck of a night on Wednesday night. And then lastly for me, I would like to mention that I was at the grand opening for the Grateful Mug in Harwich Port at the Community Center. I'm sorry, help me. Chamber of Commerce. Yes, it was a tremendous success. It was wonderful. Probably 50 to 70 people attended. I got the first coffee, the first 4 cookies. Fantastic turnout, and it really just shows when Harwich puts their mind to something, just what Harwich can accomplish. So congratulations to the Grateful Mug. And that's it for me. For staff comments and announcements, I know we have Crystal here who would like to say a few words.
Hello, good evening. Crystal
Crystal.
Legendry, Treasure Collector. I'm here on behalf of the Treasure Collector's Office and the Recreation Department to share the following information as directed regarding the schedule for in-person sales of beach, treasure, chest, and transfer station access. Starting Monday, June 2nd, in-person sales for beach and transfer station and treasure chest will be available at the Town Hall on the first floor from 9 to 3 Monday through Friday until August 30th. The Recreation Department will also offer in-person sales on the following Saturdays, June 7th and June 14th, from 10 to 3 p.m. at the Recreation Department. Weekend sales at the Recreation Department will begin on June 21st and continue Saturdays and Sundays only from 10 to 3 until August 30th. There'll be no in-person sales on Sunday, June 8th, Sunday, June 15th, Thursday, June 19th, and Friday, July 4th. We encourage all residents to review the beach sticker policy that's on the town website before coming in to ensure a smooth process. And online sales, mail-in sales are still continuing, and everything I stated this evening is on the town website. So any questions can be directed to the treasurer's office.
Thank you so much for being here. Anyone else for staff comments and announcements? From behind the monitors?
Make sure the camera shots are right. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Jamie, hold on one sec. We're gonna bring Crystal back up. Don has a question about the stickers. So yes, with staff comments, we can.
Yeah, we got the beach covered, but the
Yep.
transfer station?
Transfer and treasure chest, everything, June 2nd.
Okay. I know that Joe had said to me that we didn't raise the rate, but we have always affirmed the rate each year. So at some point or another, maybe next week you put it on the agenda to affirm that we're keeping it at the same level, because we did not vote this year.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Crystal. Jamie?
Hi, Jamie Goodwin, Harwich Channel Station Manager. I just wanted to let the public know that if they missed yesterday's Memorial Day ceremony in Brooks Park, one of my fabulous volunteers, Jim Fulton, lugged down some equipment and recorded it. It's on our YouTube channel this afternoon, and it'll be airing for the rest of the week, and it'll be airing after this select board meeting. So that we put select board meetings air at the day after, usually Tuesday, but Wednesday in this case, at 10 a.m. So we'll air the Memorial Day ceremony right after that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for staff?
Hello, congratulations. Carolyn Carey, Community Center Director. Thanks for letting me be here. It looked like a short agenda, so I thought I'd add to it. Sorry, no. I really did just want to announce the June events because they are filling up so fast and we have yet to publicize them. So on June 4th at 3:30 in the community center, we are having pickleball performance and injury prevention. Try saying that one time. It's a free event and it's really just going to give you some information on how to correctly stretch, and let's be honest, I don't know how to do any of it, so you might want to come to this. There's a real professional coming. Then we have on June 6th, Tom Lynch is coming in to do an HVAC talk. He found that there were people who weren't, he referenced his mom maybe, who was opening the windows when the air conditioning was on, and so he's just going to give a talk about that, another free talk at the community center. Then we have our Canine Summer Safety Talk on Saturday, June 7th, 1 to 3. And we do that with Jennifer Harrington, just another free event. Did I mention these were all free? Open mic night on Wednesday, June 11th at 6:30 p.m. I still haven't had anyone sign up from this group. It's always an opportunity.
New group. New group.
New group, yes. I should say, everyone else has already done it, so. Cape Harmony concerts will be happening at the community center. We're really excited about this. We are partnering. If you have not seen Cape Harmony perform, they will be here on June 13th and June 20th at 7 p.m. They are amazing. Then we have on June 24th at 6:30, Jewelry Bingo. This is a repeat because we had over 60 people at the last Jewelry Bingo. So again, I'm mentioning this, but it is almost full because we had so many people who were on the wait list. And then our most popular one of all, our summer kickoff ice cream party, free ice cream on June 27th at 2:30 until it runs out.
Oh, that would get us to.
I was going to invite you all to Scoop, but, and all of these flyers are always located on our website, and they're also on the bulletin board downstairs. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. We're very excited for the warmer weather and the opportunities, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for staff?
Good evening. Welcome to our new members of the board. Glad to see you both here this evening. Richard Waystack is an assessor tonight. I attended a meeting today of the community planning director, the assessor, and the housing advocate. I've been before you in the past talking about recommendations that we're going to be making to you as a board and how we address the shy list and how we as a community are subsidizing affordable housing. And our department has been researching for the last 2 months. And we've come upon some conflicts on the shy list. We figure with everything that's happening right now in the town, all the developments that are coming in the next few years, that we should have a strong grasp on the shy list and exactly what it is and how we are subsidizing as a town. To remind our new members, in the past, we have been, in essence, giving a 50% subsidy to affordable housing projects. But there are so many different ones that we've had over the years between Habitat, between Mid-Cape Church Homes, to the Hedge program. And so we're trying to bring it all together on one list, so we have a workable list, but we also have a policy, because we do not have one in this community. And we, as a Board of Assessors, will be coming to you most likely in June with recommendations for you to create a policy on how the town will subsidize affordable housing moving forward, who is going to monitor the shy list, because currently it is not being monitored. So we'll be establishing some responsibilities with your approval in creating that policy for any affordable housing property that comes before the town of how we will be subsidizing. And I want to, if I can, to Ms. Eldridge, to her staff who've been working on it, the housing advocate, the community planning director, and the assessor have been doing an excellent, excellent job. And to the staff of the assessing department, the research they have been doing is excellent. So thank you.
Thank you. Don?
You don't have to answer anything. It's my job to translate into English some of this stuff. We don't use acronyms. It's the state subsidized housing inventory list.
Thank you. Anyone else for for staff comment? All right, hearing none. Megan, the weekly briefing, please.
Sure. Work continues for the sewer on Route 39 and also on Pleasant Bay Road. So it continues on those two roads. There will be traffic detours for the next couple of weeks, and hopefully they can get what they need done on Pleasant Bay Road, because there is a moratorium on work during the summer months. But we're just going to keep going where we are, Route 39 and Pleasant Bay Road.
Thank you, Megan. Now we'll move to the consent agenda. I'm sorry. Public comment and announcement. Anyone here for public comment? See, I was right. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Please.
I move to approve the Select Board meeting minutes from May 19, 2025 as written.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor. Pete?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
I'm an aye.
Aye.
Mark's an aye. And Anita?
I wasn't here for those.
So you'll abstain?
And I should
abstain as well.
Abstain.
Okay. So we have a 302, please. Okay, Mr. Blake. New business. Under item A, we have town administrator to provide the finding of facts report from the show cause hearing that was held September 5th in the year of 2024 for the Port Restaurant and Bar, Inc., 541 Route 28.
Would you like me to come up?
That would be great. I'm going to have you, if you don't mind, open and
I'm happy to. As you probably know, the procedure here, first of all, my name is Jeffrey Blake. I'm here from KP Law, your town council. As most of the board, and congratulations and welcome, as most of the board knows, the procedure here in Harwich is that you have your town administrator act as a hearing officer. He or she holds hearings with liquor license, possible liquor license violations, provides you with a memorandum. You come and you listen to what the administrator has to say, and then you make a determination. The administrator also gives a recommendation. I do note that that the port has their representative, Attorney Brown, in the audience. I don't see any representative from PERC, but be that as it may. As you may recall, back in, I think it was September, September 5th. It's been quite a while. There was an allegation of a large crowd assembling outside PERC and Port at the same time. Our officers went in, and the evidence showed it. Our officers went in, knocked on a door, because under our liquor license regulations, the establishments are supposed to control crowds, even outside. There was a knock on the door. One employee, a seasonal employee, well, I think the door was locked, took a look and said, "You can't come in." The officer said, "I need to come in, I'm here, I need to get a manager ASAP to assist me." The evidence showed that a manager did come. It wasn't, I think the evidence was, it was a minute or so. It wasn't a long time. Opened the door, sent some staff out, and attempted to assist the police in getting the crowd under control. So as a result, you will see that there are a number of allegations, right? There's a violation of your liquor license regulations at 105C, hours of operations, failure to ensure that patrons left the premises in an orderly manner. There was also an allegation under 1.111B, hindering or delaying any investigator, inspector, or any other authorized agent of the LLA in the performance of the duties. And then 1.21B4, failure to cooperate with an authorized agent of the LLA. As a result, your hearing officer did find and upheld some of the violations. However, after he found those, he did note that the hindrance was fleeting and that the staff ultimately became compliant and assisted as the officer had required. I was here, I heard the testimony, and the officer did confirm that it was fleeting. So as a result, the hearing officer has recommended that the Board of Selectmen, local licensing authority, require the establishment to provide and show proof of additional training for establishment employees, including summer employees, to understand and implement the requirements of the establishment under their liquor license regulations. He also says, "I do not recommend any other penalties at this time." So, as you probably know, certainly at least one member of the board knows, there had been earlier, 4 or 5 years or 4 years earlier, there had been other violations at the port. Under your liquor license regulations, there's a so-called look-back period. But it's 2 years, and it's 2 years from the date of the offense. So in my opinion, it's not likely to apply here. Even though those were on appeal, the liquor license regulations say date of offense, not date of final determination. So, under what I understand, under my interpretation of the regulations, this would likely be a first offense. And as your hearing officer is putting down, was an offense, but he's recommending essentially more training.
Excellent, thank you. I'll go to the board. Pete, do you want to weigh in?
Question, and Jeff, thanks for the background, and whether or not you want to take a swing at this question or not is, it's up to you, but the recommendation is to provide and show proof of additional training for establishment employees. Do we define that?
I'm sorry, do we define?
Do we define what the and I don't mean the material within the training, but what they're going to show as evidence. So in my world, showing evidence means we get a copy of the training deck as well as a sign-in sheet from employees.
Yeah.
That's something, is that what this would entail?
Well, I think, to be perfectly honest with you, I think it's up to you. I think you could say that it would require, I think at a minimum, it might require, I think we currently, if I'm not wrong, Megan, I think we currently require the establishment owners and managers to attend a police, the chief gives a seminar on our rules and regulations, and there's also you got a sign that you have actually read them and understand them. And perhaps that's what you would get from them, and make all employees have to get a copy and sign that, so that if there is a next time, let's hope that there isn't, but if there is a next time, then, I think with the progressive discipline, you can go harder, and you can have some comfort in that these folks know what's going on now. Now, I suspect because of this, that same employee, you'll never have that happen again. But, you know, a point well taken, there's summer staff, you know, maybe the guy, the next guy or gal next time hasn't and doesn't know about what happened. So, that's something I think you could certainly require.
Okay, thank you.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Pete's point, though, the lecture is more than one sentence long, though, so just providing a signature doesn't cut it for me. It would have to be in conjunction with either the deck or the printout for what the content was of the course, where the person signs acknowledgement of it, because there's more than just one regulation that they're required to uphold.
Sure. I mean, I think the training would be that maybe, I don't know if they would film it. If, you know, somebody I don't know if, and I don't want to give our chief any additional work, but I don't know if he could, for this particular establishment, because of this, I don't know if the chief would be willing to give his seminar, lecture, training that he does every single year for all establishments, if that's something you're looking at. Do you have a deck? A
So,
PowerPoint?
thank you. I think to both these points, Kevin Considine,
yep.
Kevin Considine, Police Chief. Every year at their required meeting, I go through the issues we had the year prior in our binder and make note of those. I make sure to hit those and explain the importance of them. This is not a training, and what I say to them is it's incumbent upon you as business owners to go back, because I have one representative at that meeting. They haven't even hired people for summer yet, most likely. I make it quite clear to them that it's on them to go back when they start their season and have a training with all their employees, and they have your regulations. And actually, I give them highlighted copies of them, of the key parts, and this is one of them, to hit. And I often question myself sometimes whether this is getting done, to be perfectly honest with you. And then as the summer progresses, I kind of confirm my thoughts, because we have these issues. So whatever we put into place here tonight, if this is where we're going, I agree. It should be on the business to prove to you the training, not me, on the business owners to prove we had a staff meeting. This is the agenda. This is what we had. We passed out the rules and regs. Everybody signed off on them. I say it till I'm blue in the face every year, and we're constantly back here every year with either noise or now something a little more serious. Thank you.
Don?
Yeah, it's nothing further for the chief, but that was my point. So there is something in existence that they could acknowledge receipt of. It may not be a deck, but there's a hard copy of something that they can acknowledge that.
Absolutely, and it's those policy and procedures highlighted that we give out at the meeting, plus anything else. We document those, and we also have the attendance roster of who from those establishments show up.
I think what I'm saying is that would be the basis of any motion that I would agree with. There have to be some proof that the establishment has conveyed that to all their employees and that they've all signed off about receiving acknowledgement.
Correct.
All set? Yeah. Mark?
I'm all set, thank you.
Anita?
I'm all set.
So I would just add to both my colleagues, and if there's something that's going to happen between now and when they satisfy the recommendation for additional training, I'd like it to have a date complete by, so that we have an end to this. So I would,
Just on
Please.
that point, if I could.
Yeah, of course.
My only concern there is if they continue to bring staff on, then I don't necessarily want to say by July 1 you have to submit it. Now, maybe by July 1 you give us your initial training, but then as new folks come on, additional trainings.
yeah, and that was my next
Subsequent
point, was,
trainings occur,
yeah, if we have it by a certain date prior to the summer really kicking off, and then they were mandated to do one more in August, or something like that, but I think we can,
And ultimately, regardless of this training or not, the business owner is the party that's responsible.
it's on them.
So if this occurs again because of a lack of training or just ignorance, again, that's their issue, not ours.
100%. So does someone want to take a crack at a motion?
Mr. Howell?
I nominate Don.
I nominate Pete, but that's another story. Yeah, I move that we accept the recommendations as made by the town administrator and further specify that the establishment secure the acknowledgement of receipt of all the town regulations for any staff brought on during the season.
Did you include the employee's signature?
Yeah, that they acknowledge with their signature the receipt and understanding of the regulations that are presented to them as they are hired on.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anita? Mark?
No.
Don? Please.
Hello, I'm Dina Brown with the law firm of Bletzer & Bletzer, and I represent the Port and Ember. Nice to welcome you here today, although I hope I'm not here as often, very often. We are happy to comply with this in terms of training. I will put together a package for them with what the chief has given out, and I will make sure that it is done. And if you'd like, I can provide an affidavit back here if that would satisfy you, or just having the signatures. I do agree, though, that we do not have full staff on now, so maybe one training by June 30th, and then another one if you think it's necessary, or otherwise just the people who get added on just sign off. Accept whatever you propose, but I just want to make sure, if you're saying a training, that it's a training, or is it just to give them a copy of the rules and their signatures?
Please.
The intent of the motion was that they will receive the training packet, but it'll be up to them to self-train. On the other hand.
You mean the owners will get the training packet and up to them to...
And they will
Got it.
present it to each employee to get a signature from each employee. And I also want to make the point that this in no way supplants the obligation of the actual establishment attending the seminar that the police department puts on for the establishments.
Right, they always do.
Yep, no, I get that. I
Yeah.
just want to be explicit
course.
that this is an add-on. It is not in place of.
Absolutely.
Pete? Anything from you?
No, good.
Yeah, and I think my interest is to not micromanage every restaurant and bar in the town of Harwich. And to Pete's point, it is incumbent upon them to follow the rules and know the rules, right? Ignorance is no excuse, right?
Absolutely.
So I like the June 30th, if that was in Don's motion. I think that's not. Would you like to add that to your motion?
I would not, because at whatever time they bring on people, the training that they will receive in the packet that's going to be available to them should be presented to the employees as they are brought on.
Okay.
But June 30th would be insanely difficult to administer, because that's right before the 4th of July weekend.
Correct. Correct. So no timeline, just as, we'll agree that as they
As
come on, we
hired.
will train them.
Just for the record, I'll say I'm not in support of that. I would like a date certain, but I'll follow whatever the board's wishes are. I think it's always a good idea to have a date, and then additional training, which I think was in the spirit of the motion, would continue and be part of the ongoing summer, staff employee process, so.
I mean, rest assured, if the deadline's June 30th, we're not going to be doing it on June 30th before the...
Understood,
I
but
guess my point is inherent in the motion is that it would start today if we accepted it. From here on, any employee that's brought on would have to acknowledge it, so there is a date certain. It's today.
okay.
Whatever you choose.
Chief?
Chief Considine, yeah, I just want to ensure that whatever the training happens sooner than later, even if it's an ongoing, because remember, we're coming up to July 4th really quick. That's when something's going to happen. So I'd be a little leery of waiting on the behalf of the businesses, because the problems are going to happen probably quite soon. So I'm sure the employees are going to be hired soon. I would suggest onboarding, do it.
Chief, when do you do your annual with, you mentioned you do an annual. Have you already done that?
Yep, yeah, they're
With
all.
the port?
Yes.
But clearly you do it with the ownership and some managers,
Well-
because there's really not a lot of people here.
It depends who they send. Some businesses send more than others. That's what I'll say on that part.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Anything more from you, Ms. Brown?
No, no,
Okay.
fine.
Jeff, all set?
I'm all set.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor? Pete? Just Pete? Aye. Don?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, 5-0.
So just so that you know, Megan, probably on your form, will draft up a letter to them saying what the outcome was. I'm happy to send it over to me. I'm happy to wordsmith it with you if you'd like.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Item B. Jeff, if you want to lead on this as well, that would be great,
Sure.
please. Thank you.
Okay, so this was for what is known as Perks. Lucky Labrador, Inc., doing business as Perks, located at 545 Route 28 in Harwich Port. There were allegations, there was a show cause hearing scheduled for the 24th of October, but ultimately got held on November 20th for allegations regarding noise. 1.09E of your regulations specifically, where there were 3 separate allegations for 1, inside entertainment heard outside the boundaries of the premises on Sunday, August 4th, 2024. 2, outside entertainment plainly audible at a distance of 150 feet from the boundary line of the premises on Saturday, August 31st, 2024. And 3, inside entertainment heard outside the boundaries of the premises on Sunday, August 13th. The hearing was held. Officers came that were witnesses to and testified. Your hearing agent, your hearing officer found that there was sufficient evidence to uphold all of the allegations. One, that there was music conducted after the closing hours, and there was also music that could be heard outside the boundaries, indoor music being heard outside the boundaries. The owners, and I'll just read his recommendation, the owners of record for the establishment testified and provided proof that they had made further investments in sound control equipment and mechanisms. I recommend that they ensure to the town that these systems and mechanisms remain in place, and further that they have adequately proven to have trained all staff to ensure the proper working of the same. Apparently, my recollection was that there was some issues with the sound system. They subsequently brought a professional in and fixed the sound system. But I think what your hearing officer is saying is that we ought to require that they do that, and more importantly, bring somebody down there to inspect so that we know that they did it. And of course, I think here, he also says, and that they have adequately proven to trained all staff to ensure the proper workings of same. I would say you could probably use the exact same requirement that you have on port, with saying that, the staff needs to know all of the regulations, because these are violations of regulations, and allegedly by staff, not by the manager. So again, I think your earlier requirement of the port is probably appropriate here as well.
Excellent, thank you, Jeff. I'll go to the board. Don, you want to start?
Yeah, I've said this in the past. I have some background in sound reinforcement through the years, especially with a band. So it's likely, nobody presented anything during the hearing, as far as I know, about the mechanism. And it's highly unlikely that there is any operation of it. Most of these things are passive. They're baffles that collect sound, like they use in recording studios and other places. It's really important, I get, because just a note for everybody out there, the whole district is only 150 feet deep, and you are abutting residences immediately as soon as you get beyond that. But before we start requiring somebody to understand the workings of, I'd like for us to understand the working of, because I don't believe that it's anything that is a machine that operates to ameliorate the sound. It really does wind up being a passive capture of sound waves.
It's also my recollection, and again, this was a long time ago, and there's been a lot of water over that dam, but it's also my recollection that there were speaker placement and the like. They did, I think, play around with how the speakers were pointed and where they were pointed, rather attempt to ameliorate the sound.
And yeah, Jeff, there are different types of speakers that have different dispersions of sound. They can be as much as 180 degrees. They can actually be more narrow. Without boring you, there's dipoles and monopoles. And that's the purchase of that would have to be, like the people that own the place. There is no operation because they wind up being mounted on the wall and pointed in a specific direction based on what the sound expert is telling them to keep it from going too broadly. But most of these things don't boil down to that anyway. Most of these things have to do with the active reinforcement of sound by bouncing off of live walls inside of a place. So, and that changes depending on how many people are there too, because the absorption rate is different. So I'd really be interested in knowing what it is we're making a motion about.
So, in my opinion, if you do have further questions, you're the local licensing authority, you can ask, obviously, you make your motion tonight to ask the Perks people to come in for a further hearing. And you can ask these kind of questions if you're not satisfied with what was presented to you. I don't think there's anything in your procedures, the way you've done it, or in the law, state, or your regulations that prevent you from having them come in and answer some of these questions.
And that's why I bring this up, because we do not have the information that we would need to be able to understand what it is they did do.
Chief?
So I think I can make this a little simpler, because you don't have that information. On the town administrator's memo, where it says note on the first page at the end, it's my opinion that the proper allegations for the first and second instances should refer to 1.09G. Those instances are very simple.
Yep.
Either they were music, either inside or outside, that got turned on at 2 a.m. by mistake or by technology messing up. Residents called and said, I hear just playing music, just background music playing. And the officers went down there way past closing time. Nobody was in Harwichport, and they heard music coming from the location. So either it was left on after closing by an employee, or technology messed up and it turned on miraculously. I don't know. But this, again, goes to the training part. My thought is while they're cleaning up, they just left it on, and 2 or 3 hours later, a resident heard it at the wee hours in the morning. So those two are very simple as far as how those occurred, and that's where the training comes down as well. Shut the speakers off.
And the lights.
Pete?
Well, I don't know, Kevin just threw me a curveball. I was leaning towards asking him to come back before us to explain to us what control equipment and mechanisms that they are putting forth. I think I'm still leaning in that direction at this point.
Mark?
No questions.
Anita?
No questions.
Chief?
Chief Consulate, and I do believe one of the three was probably during hours, so I think that's where you're headed, Pete, and that's appropriate, yeah.
Wait, can you go back, if you don't mind? Thank you. One of the three violations
It
was
was-
during hours.
I believe one of the three were, excluding the two that we just talked about, yeah.
And if I'm going to ask Pete, you want them to come back to speak to,
Yeah, I'd like to know what it is that,
Okay.
you know, whatever these sound control and mechanisms that they are putting in place.
Sure.
And to Don's point, the only thing I know about sound is what whistles through my ears. So
yeah,
as far as, you know, the technology piece to it, or technical piece to it, I'm clueless. But I'd at least like to hear their explanation, and then I'd like to hear from whether it's the town administrator or whomever, what expert do we have to go down and say that it's appropriate? So,
Okay.
you know, it's one thing to say
Sure.
you're gonna send someone down there, but who the hell has that knowledge and ability?
okay, so I'll just add, I didn't understand the thing you said when you were talking about dipoles and monopoles and.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it happened. It happened. I do remember back when I got on the board, maybe a year and 3/4, maybe 2 years ago, as a matter of fact. They had a similar offense where early in the morning, one of the employees came in to open and inadvertently turned it on, and there was a violation. And this board found that people are human, and there was an accident. And there was nothing more came of it. I'm inclined to lean that way with this and follow the recommendations of our hearing officer. I don't want to have somebody come down and explain to me all the nuances of sound and why it was too loud or why it got turned on. I think that's for them to make sure it doesn't happen again. And if it happens again, then they're back before us, and it would be a second offense, and then the severity of the recommendation would probably be significantly greater. So I would not support having them come back, because I don't think it's for us to really micromanage again, but that's just me. So, what's the pleasure of Don?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this isn't as daunting as it sounds on the surface. The people we use to do the sound reinforcement for our town meeting are actually fairly expert in setting up public address systems and dispersion of sound. And you're right, it is complex, and that happened with the Claddagh, for those people who remember it.
Sure.
And depending on what day it was, and what the air was doing, whether the wind was going north or it was coming southwest, the sound actually migrated in different ways. It was much louder at some points and much softer. That's why I'd kind of like to know what they're up to, and there is the availability to get the expertise right on Cape to find out what they've done. Because, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, a traffic accident. You don't want to have the same traffic accident at the same intersection every single month of the year, and then just say, well, it's up to the operator to worry about it. We need to know, because as Jeff knows, Mr. Blake, I've been on this case for sound for the longest time. It's probably about 6 or 7 years now that it's a different district. There are other places in town where there are other restaurants where there's nothing behind them, there's nothing next to them. They're in either a strip mall or there's some place that's discreet. This is really tricky. There are people living right next to it, and I feel we owe it to them to do more than just say, well, I know they did it twice, but they're promising not to do it again. So I would really like to have it brought back.
My only point is the more we get involved in this, the more we're gonna have to stay involved in this, and I think it's up to them. It's been 2 years. We haven't had an issue. I think it's been 2 years since my first hearing of something happening with perks till today, so.
But it's a license condition, and it has
No,
remained so.
And I understand that. So if it's the pleasure of the board to bring them back, then it's the pleasure of the board. So where do we want to go with this?
Well, I guess if you're looking for some direction, I would support, I guess it's not a continuation of the hearing, but it would be a new hearing to bring the owners of the perk before us to describe what their resolution is and define sound control equipment and mechanisms to this licensing board.
So I guess depending upon how you notice this one, you're right, it would, I think the motion would be to move to have a further hearing on the allegations of a liquor license violation by the perk on, bear with me, I just need to, this thing doesn't scroll quite as fast as I can think. On the allegations, noise allegations on Sunday, August 4th, 2024, Saturday, August 31st, 2024, and Sunday, August 13th, 2024. And once if it's approved, I think that your assistant town administrator and I can work together, and we'll figure out when you guys are available, and we'll notice a public hearing. And they'll let them know, and they'll come in and explain, and you guys can then hear their explanation and then formulate some type of resolution.
Thank you.
Motion is exactly as Attorney Blake
I
described.
knew that was coming.
So moved, right?
Before I second it, I might add, I'd like documentary information, not just verbal description, because you're right, it is difficult to understand, and you're going to want to see just what it is they purchased in order to do what they say they're doing.
And certainly that can, I can work with your assistant town administrator. We can put that in the notice.
You got that
As amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Anita, Mark? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I'm a no. 4-1. Thank you. Jeff, thanks for being here.
Well, it was my pleasure. It was
Appreciate your
a
time.
beautiful day for a ride.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Always
Thank
a
you for
pleasure
being here.
seeing you, and again, congratulations.
Let us know when you get to the bridge.
We'll see you later.
All right, old business item A.
One.
Oh, no,
we had
I'm
a-
sorry, the big highlighted yellow thing that I just skipped right over. Hard to see that on this paper. I'm going to let you lead with
Sure.
this, if you don't mind, Megan.
Sure. Early this afternoon, we were notified by the Historic District Chair that they have a hearing tomorrow, that they may have a quorum issue due to two of their members being involved in the application before them. There's a possibility that it won't be an issue if the new member is there and one of the other members shows as well, but they wanted to ensure they could hear the project tomorrow, and in order to do that, Mr. Brendan Lowney and Mr. Robert Doan need to file a conflict of interest form with the local approving authority, which is you. So in your packet, you have your updated packet. You have a disclosure of appearance of a conflict of interest as required by General Law 268A, Section 23B3. And the first one is for Robert Doan, and he is a member of the Harwich Historic District and Harwich Historical Commission. And he is also a representative of the Harwich Junior Theater, Cape Cod Theater Company. And that is the application going before the Historic District tomorrow for a fence permit. And even though there's no financial interest, he wanted to file this disclosure because there could be an appearance of the conflict of interest. And the second is for Brendan Lowney, who is on the Affordable Housing Trust and the HDHC board member. So these two did come to us late in the day. They were unanticipated to have on the agenda when it was posted on Thursday, and they do not require a vote after speaking with council because they don't require your approval. It just requires you to have them filed with you. But having it here on a public meeting puts it in the motion, it puts it in the minutes that this was discussed and acknowledged.
Board, Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an ongoing comment of mine, so to be made. No one in the public has any idea what we have in front of us. So if we do what you suggest, this should at least be a supplementary piece of documentation put into the packet for next week, which people do get to see.
Yes, the packet was updated this afternoon with this, so it's in there, and we'll put it in correspondence next week as well.
And the other thing I'll take note of so that everybody understands, because this looks kind of odd if you don't know the background. Brendan has the conflict solely because of serving on the Affordable Housing Trust too. The reason that is that property was taken from the town and transferred to the jurisdiction of the Affordable Housing Trust, so it's not the town that actually is the owner of record, it's the Affordable Housing Trust.
That's correct.
Anyone else? Anita? Mark?
No questions?
Pete?
Nope.
So this is a vote. We need to vote.
You actually don't.
We don't need to
This
vote
afternoon,
this.
I
Just
thought you
acknowledge
did
this happened
It's a
and we
disclosure.
move on.
disclosure, and if you have
Excellent.
any issues, now is the time to present those.
I have no issues. Thank you. Okay, moving on to old business. First reading on the policy on the 204 cafe use policy. I want to thank Cara for coming last week and presenting her fee structure. And now we are into the use policy, which is what this board is really meant to do. So I trust the board members have read the policy in the packet, and I'll turn it over to board members for any edits or omissions or input. Who wants to go first? I know, Pete, you and I were looking at item 8 about
Yep.
liability.
Yep.
You want to touch that one?
Sure, so it still states may require a certificate of insurance, and it sounded as if we actually do require it. So I would strike the word may in the first sentence, then I believe somewhere else in that paragraph, the town may also require additional, oh no, that's not it. Oh, yeah, so the town may also require an additional fee for the purpose of purchasing insurance for use of a town-owned building. So I guess that we didn't cover last week. Is that a standard practice, Megan, do you know, or is that?
Not standard. Most vendors that go into our town buildings will have the same type of insurance, but if it's something like an amusement park ride or something that isn't typically used within a kitchen, or someone wants to do something that's more dangerous or perceived to be more dangerous, we would want an additional insurance policy.
All right. So I'd be fine with just striking the word may in the first sentence of number 8, liability.
Okay.
That's all I had.
Thank you, Pete. Anyone else? Mark?
Yes, Megan, maybe you can answer this. This has more to do with practicalities. Is there any way to measure the utility use? Is that kitchen metered separately, or will Kara have the ability to see the incremental use of utilities? Because I think that, you know, if somebody's using a lot of gas and electricity, it'd be interesting to see how that changes.
Sure, the kitchen has not been used for several years, so we would see an incremental increase.
Okay.
There is not a separate meter there. We only receive one bill for that.
But she
electric.
should be able to see the incremental use,
Theoretically, yes.
hopefully, yeah.
Yes.
And just one other thing, because you're dealing with food proactively, are you looking at pest control exterminator to
We,
be ahead of it?
we do have pest control through our DPW. We do have a contract for that, so we are aware, yes.
That's it. Great. Anita? Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I totally agree with Pete. In my experience with 501c3s, even with site law services, when we do stuff, we have to identify whatever town that we're in to do support groups by having the town named as, with a rider for additional insurance as a named insured. It's not really a burden. It would only be a burden if, like, Bob or Sue decided they wanted to rent out the kitchen by themselves. And even at that, we have a mechanism, you know, to get the insurance and have them charge back.
Okay. Anything else?
I had one other comment, sorry, I forgot the first time, but I think, I shouldn't say it that way. I don't believe I saw anything related to waste removal. So am I to believe that the town would take care of any garbage or waste that's created from these classes at the town's expense?
I would imagine that is going to be the case. We do have a dumpster there that we pay per use. It's not on a regular weekly or monthly basis, so it will cost more money if we.
I'd personally, thank you, Megan. I'd personally like to see some language that the individual hosting the event is responsible for their own waste removal. You know, if we have some folks using this thing 5-6 times a week, that could get somewhat costly depending on what they're doing in the kitchen.
Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And to Pete's point, I understand what you're saying, Megan, but We can't wait a month if we're talking about food waste. I mean, it would have to be associated with the use for the event and taken away relatively soon, or we're gonna have a rodent problem.
Right, the dumpster is emptied on an as-needed basis, so if it,
And that's what I'm
if it
saying.
fills, we
The
call and they
as-needed should
fill it.
be as the event is concluded and you're done. The pickup is part of the responsibility of the renter.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Well, I'm not saying that they have to come empty our trash receptacle after each event. I'm saying the individuals can take the waste with them and dispose of it at their own leisure.
And I'm saying if they don't do that, it's a real nuisance to have food waste sitting in a dumpster for an as-call pickup. We're gonna create a problem for ourselves that we don't have currently.
I'm wondering if the director packaged that into her price. So Megan, would you reach out and just ask her if she factored in waste removal into her price list? And then, if the answer is no, maybe she could come back and review the price list.
Sure.
Does that sound reasonable?
Very.
Because as much as I'd love to see people carting garbage bags out of there in their cars, the dumpster, I think we can just increase the rate, the price fee if need be. So,
Sounds good.
anything else? So with those edits, Megan, are we able to now move to a vote to have those edits and changes made and then go to a second reading? Or do you want to present?
I think it depends on if you want language in there on the waste removal, because that would be a completely new section.
That's true. right.
But if you want us to just incorporate the fee, the waste into the fee, then all the changes that are gonna be made is striking the word may.
Would you mind reaching out tomorrow and just see where that lies, and then
Yep.
give me a call and we'll discuss
Sure. Yep.
next steps?
Otherwise, if there aren't any other changes, you could go with a second reading next week if you wanted to.
So someone want to make a motion if there's no changes that we move to a second reading? Or would you like to wait?
I'd like to hear what Kara's answer is.
If there's no change,
Then it's okay. Doesn't take a vote from us to get to a second reading if nothing's changed.
no, there are changes.
Please dropping may.
But I don't think there's anything substantial enough that we can't consider this the first reading,
Yeah.
even if we have to adjust language on waste removal. So if you want a motion, I make a motion to consider the first reading complete of the policy on the 204 cafe use.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, sorry?
No, no.
Okay, hearing none, we can do this all together. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? 5-0, Megan.
Got
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
All right, now moving to the discussion on town administrator search. Votes may be taken. I'll just start on this one if I could. And so I've done a little bit of work in administration. And Don, last week you had mentioned the Collins Center not being part of our initial. Right?
Yeah, and I made a mistake about.
No, I'm
which
not,
center,
I'm not
but
bringing up,
It's one of the myriad of centers.
no, listen, and that's not why I'm going there, but what that does is that now creates the need for procurement. So, the Collins Center does not require procurement because it's a mass municipal entity, is that?
It's correct. We would have an intermunicipal agreement if we use the Collins Center, because they're a governmental agency.
Correct. So the other three remaining parties, businesses, search firms, would all require a 30B procurement, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So I think one member, and I can't remember who it was, but had asked to have them come before us. But I'm understanding that they're not gonna come before us until we put out an RFP. So, Pete?
And the only thing I'll state is that I disagree with that.
Okay.
With my prior conversations with two of the agencies regarding the finance director role, at that point, we had no idea what the costs associated with such a search would have been. They said they had no problem coming before us to outline what they do
Okay.
and how their process works. It
Okay.
has nothing to do with them bidding on it that night or even sharing costs associated with such a process. It's about the process and what they have seen, you know, as of the recent past, with the search for a town administrator.
Okay. So we will, how does the board want to proceed with this? Do we want to begin the process of procurement and then reach out as we're doing that to see if they'll come in and speak with us? Because the longer we wait to begin the procurement process, the longer it's going to take to get anything accomplished. So I would like this board to focus in on two things tonight. One, whether or not we want to move forward with the 30B procurement process for the town administrator's search firm. And then the second topic that I'd like resolution on tonight is, do we want to have a search committee in the town of Harwich? So, what are the thoughts of the board on the first, which is reaching out or starting the procurement process for a town administrator search firm? So we'll need a vote for that.
Yes.
So just to circle back, or to drop back a little bit. First of all, I'm fine with beginning the procurement process for a search firm.
Mhm.
But I think simultaneous to that, I'd like to ask them to come before us to give us an outline of their process and what it looks like. Now, if they all choose not to, then that's a different conversation we can have. But again, my understanding, at least for the finance director role, they were willing to come before us and outline what their process is. I think it'd be foolish for them not to, and then we're trying to make a decision simply based on procurement process as to who we're going to select.
I agree with you.
and
So we
then-
can do both at the same time.
Yep,
Right.
and then, but to tie that into whether or not we utilize a
Search committee?
search committee within the town, that's part of what I want to hear from those folks.
From them.
Yeah.
Okay.
As
fair
far, and I'm not saying they're gonna decide for us, I want to hear what they have to say as far as pros and cons they've experienced. Again, 20 years ago, we had the search firm with a committee. I believe more recently, it was just a committee, correct, not a search firm? Five so years ago?
We had a consultant, but we also had a committee.
You did have a consultant, okay, so my misunderstanding there, so yeah, that's where, I'm not opposed to a committee as I sit here, but I'd love to hear their feedback prior to making that determination.
Okay. So was that a motion to move with the 30B procurement process for a search firm for the town administrator?
Yes, so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion on that? Yes?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
I just want to state for the record, and it may just be me, but I've been doing this a long time. And the MMA has so you become a selectman seminar, and then they talk about best practices, and essentially you wind up with an inbred belief structure. That's why I'm not really in favor of the UMass part of this thing. I want to be willing to go outside of the box if that's where the search takes us. Anything else is up for grabs, as far as I'm concerned. I just don't want to do it that way because after a while, you got to say to yourself, if we keep doing things the same way, why are we expecting a different result out of it?
Thank you. Anyone else? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
5-0.
Thank you.
And then to Pete's point, I'll make sure that we begin the process of reaching out and asking them to come present to us, those three, okay? And then, with respect to a search committee, we'll put that on the back burner and wait until they either choose to come or not choose to come, and then we can discuss that in the future. Discussion on acting town administrator. Anybody want to lead with this? I'd like some kind of idea of where we're going with this as well.
Yeah, so again, I'll happy to lead on it if folks want to keep listening to me, but not that you want to, but I guess you're forced to right now. I do want to hear from the consultants first, and again, this has nothing to do with existing personnel. What I'd like to know, what we heard from, I want to say, KP Law, is that we could be looking at north of 8 months for, you know, a successful search for the town administrator. I'd like to know if the search firms agree with that assessment, because I think the length, you know, they might tell us it's more like 18 months. So I think that, you know, information is going to be somewhat helpful for me on determining how we move forward with the acting town administrator role.
Thank you, Pete. Don?
I agree.
Mark?
I agree, and the sooner we can get the consultants in here to speak to us, the better.
Anita?
I agree.
Megan, I have a question for you. What do you think the, probably a hard question, but what do you think the time frame is to go from procurement to,
So a procurement will take probably 4 to 6 weeks to advertise, get the proposals back and analyze them, get them in front of you for review, and then another week or so for a contract to be executed. So you're looking at a minimum of 6 weeks from the day we put the RFP out to the day the consultant starts working.
so that would eclipse the current town administrator's end date?
That would, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so that's what we'll do. Item D, discussion on contracted wastewater management consultant. Again, I put this in the packet. I've put in the contract for the both of you so that you can see it, if you haven't seen it. And all it is made to simply allow the board, if they have anything they want to talk about or something for Dan to do, we can talk about it. He will be here next week to give the update, as you requested, Mr. Piekarski, and he will also be discussing another project. So with, he's part of the, help me out with the,
Oh, the
Conservation,
Conservation
the new
Trust.
Conservation Trust. I think they've already had a conversation, so. Does anybody have anything for Dan Pelletier or the wastewater consultant at this time? No. Okay. Town administrators report.
There is nothing in here from the town administrator, so there is no report. Nothing to report.
Okay. Select board member report. Pete?
Nope, if Mr. Pelletier is going to join us next week, that's great, and that's it for me.
Excellent. Don?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under the heading of No Good Deed Goes Unpunished, I didn't say it before, but I'm going to lather on one more thing. The reason I haven't scheduled a meeting for the Brooks Academy subcommittee is because we have a plan, and the plan involves immediately putting out a contract for the architect, because the architect designs the work statement. The work statement's needed to put out a construction contract, and what we had promised with all parties in the same room, and you were there too, is they were gonna get into the building this summer on the first floor, and we were buying time to start the architectural project, hopefully to get towards the latter part of the summer, something on the street, so that we could actually commence construction sometime in late September, but all of that gets pushed backwards if we don't start with the architectural contract first.
If I could.
Please, go ahead.
If I could reply, next week on your agenda, you do have a contract for approval from RGB Architects for OPM services, Owner's Project Manager Services, and part of that scope of work is the architectural.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's on there. Mark, anything from you?
Just one thing, the project manager, the owner's project manager for the Monomoy School building project, I thought did a very good job. You could probably get their name, but if it's a bid process, I'd consider that. And the only other thing is I attended the Veterans Day ceremony. It was a wonderful ceremony. I have to say, Mr. Howell did a wonderful invocation, and I don't want to give him any more compliments. Thank you.
Anita?
I also did attend the memorial service yesterday, and I want to thank the voters. I also want to acknowledge that I'm going to be looking forward to working with all of you, and thank you very much for welcoming me to this board, and hope we can get a lot accomplished in the at least next few months.
Excellent, thank you. And I will just bring up that next week we have our reorganization. That will be on next week's agenda. And making no assumptions, I would just like to make my position perfectly clear as to this upcoming renegotiation. I will not accept any recommendations, nominations, I should say, for chair, vice chair, or clerk. Additionally, regardless of the outcome of renegotiation, reorganization, meaning if the board can't come to a decision as to who the chair or vice chair will be, June 2nd, 2025 will be my last day in the seat as chair. So I just want to say that, so that the board members have ample time to plan and give you notice. So, thank you very
Mr.
much.
Chair, I'm sorry, I think the first part I was a little lost. You will not
I
entertain?
will not accept.
You mean personally?
Personally, I will
Thank you.
not accept,
Thank you,
yeah, any nominations for chair, vice chair, or clerk.
understood.
Sorry if I was unclear.
No, you probably were, I just caught me off guard.
No problem. That's all from me. Any,
Yeah, just want to tell the new members that these meetings don't normally run as long as this.
yeah, enjoy it. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.